So I guess post freeze update. Been a little busy pulling stuff out of the little greenhouse, and you know, as I thought in my quick video that I did, really the only thing that suffered any actual damage was the bananas, and kind of expected they're above the house, like the roofs of the house, they get up there, and frost settles up top. So, pretty much everything below the edges of the house really didn't get hit. But I've been in the process of potting up all these plants that have been in the greenhouse, like the mangosteens and the Boeterias. So I've got canistel and Rosapote that are kind of busting out of the bottom of the pots because they've got a strong root system. And they really need to be potted up. And even some of these, like the Eugenia anthropophagas and the purple forest guavas, the Cydia myrtoides, they all need to be potted up. Their roots are pretty strong. And then even some of the young jabos, I've been potting up. Like, where's a couple of them? That's the Otto Anderson Broncovino cutting that I took. It's actually potted up. It's got a pretty strong root system. Got a couple of the seedlings over there. Kind of working on these ones here. Some of them don't really need to be potted up just yet. But even these Syzygium polycephalums that I had in the grow lights, I brought one out from inside to see how well it would do, just putting it here, and it seems to be fine. So I'll probably move the other ones out here soon. And then what else is going on? Some of these other jabos don't really need to be potted up just yet. I kind of wait till I start seeing the roots at the bottom. I did the Coronata Hestinga, but I might have jumped the gun on it a little bit when I got it out of the pot. I thought that it was kind of grown into the bottom, but you can kind of see I ripped its little root, or the longest, strongest root that I had, and it was starting to kind of populate the bottom, but not completely. And the root ball fell apart just at the bottom. So not enough to really hurt it, but it'll set it back a couple of weeks probably. Not too worried about it because I'm leaving the state at the end of the month to go to a trade show. So my train of thought is if I pot them up, they'll stay more moist longer. I'll only be gone for a week, so probably won't need anyone to water them, especially if it rains a little bit. I'll have them out. I might stack everything up here so they're mostly in the shade so they don't dry out as fast. But yeah, so doing some potting up, kind of rearranging, cleaning this out in here. I got to get this torn down as quickly as possible because it's starting to get warm, and it's probably too warm in here. And I kind of want to clean it up and kind of start stacking stuff along the edge. My strategy is to kind of, if I can keep the pot out of the sunlight and just keep the actual plant in the sunlight, it tends to retain moisture longer. So just kind of working along that. Trying to look at any new growth on some of these jabos. Of course, there's a fighter jet going exactly as I'm starting to do this, but it'll pass. What else is going on over here? So this Campo Ramon is just like loving the spring weather. It's just popping out like crazy. I'll have to check the root ball on this one. I don't think it's quite ready yet, so we'll wait on that. But had a heavy flowering on the red, and I don't know if it set fruit because it got cold, but it looks like it's starting to pop more flowers out. So it's not lagging behind too much. The Rosa de Pascos is looking pretty good. Got a nice little layer of moss at the bottom there. It's always a good feature. Pretty much all the Eugenias are doing nice. This I always forget the name of this. Plinia clausa is acting pretty much exactly the same way as the Cambucas have for me so far. They grow at about the same rate, tend to take the sun in the same way, and I know Adam grafted a clausa onto a edulus, so maybe they're not too different of a plant at all. Maybe they're just a different variety of the same species, and they're just given different species names. I don't know. Potted up these miracle fruits. And then I'll have to go through and sort through all these red seedlings and see if any of these need to be potted up. I know I just went through and potted them up before winter hit, so the roots probably aren't too crazy. But then I even have all these reds over here in this little tray that definitely have filled out the tray volume. There's probably, there's some community red pots over here, so a little bit of work to do. But the reds seem to handle any abuse. Like, I just kind of forget about them. It's actually surprising how strong the jabos are when you have a bunch of them and you kind of stop caring about each individual plant. You do lose some, but most of them make it even though they're severely neglected. And once you pot them up, they pop back. So obviously you can't do it forever, but a lot of people I think underestimate how hardy the plants are in general, at least the reds. The red definitely seems like the ultimate Florida, like Central Florida 9B, 10A jabo. But moving out into the yard, let's see what's going on out here. Kind of neglecting these star fruits. I don't water them at all. Kind of another example of, like, you can get away with letting the pots dry out on some plants more so than you would think. I'm not a big fan of starfruit. I'll probably just keep these alive and try to give them away to people. Another example of a kind of drought tolerant plant are these black sapotes. I just don't water it, and it grows like a weed. So if you want a plant you can neglect, starfruit, black sapote, definitely. Red jabo is a good jabo to kind of neglect. Now the seashore mangosteen that I thought had like severely damaged leaves, I think it just looked pitiful because it was cold. It did get damaged a little bit, as you can see, but that was young, tender, new growth and got down below freezing, and it wasn't for more than a couple of hours, but it survived. Like, it looks bad, but I'm sure once it actually kind of fills in the dark green color after it hardens off, it'll just look like it got sunburn or tip burn from some kind of like salt burn or something like that. But yeah, they're pretty strong plants. Same for this green wax apple, wax bamboo. Now the soursop down here may not come back. We'll see. Let me see. Let's scratch it. Let's see. Is it green? It's still green, so it'll come back. And this is the Eugenia burkhartiana. I mentioned it looks burnt up. It had those spider mites on it. That's what that damage is from. But these new leaves, as they come out, are really cool looking. They kind of like come out looking like pea pods or something, or like a milkweed pods. It kind of looks like that, but then they unfurl and they'll turn like a bright red. And I think you've seen it in my previous videos, but then they kind of start transitioning to this beautiful dark green color from like a light green. So it goes like red to dark green. And this thing was uncovered. Well, I put a pot over it whenever it got below freezing, but I don't think it really helped that much. But the burkhartiana seems pretty good to have in the ground in 9B so far, at least in this northern wind protected spot. I don't know how big those trees get, so we'll see. I guess as long as it lives long enough to fruit, that's all I care about right now. And get more of them later. So what else is going on? Patanga tuba, not really much action on it right now. Same with the other one over there. They kind of shed their last season leaves, and they'll probably start pushing out new growth. So Patomba right in the center there. This Eugenia piriformis here seems to be in stasis. Like, it's not growing any new leaves and it's not losing any old leaves. It got kind of sunburnt. But I don't know if it's this spot or if it's just because I put it in the ground when it was so small. It's just really working on its root system. I'm going to guess that's what's happening, because the same thing happened with the strawberry guava here. It kind of stayed small for a while and looked burnt up, and then all of a sudden, bam. Like, I think it went from probably like just the size of like this to that in the last year. So very impressive. But yeah, coming around the front, Here's that Batanga tuba, the Cherry of the Rio. I don't see any flowers on it yet, but January, February is about the time frame it'll start pushing them out. So we'll see. I don't get a lot of fruit off of it. I probably need another tree. But the key lime seems to be doing fine. Stepping through here. Hopefully I don't step on a snake. The Feijoa is getting huge. I don't see any flowers on it yet. Maybe that's one right there coming in. Let's see where, kind of like right there. We'll see. It kind of looks like new growth to me. But the other thing is I've got these jackfruits in the front here. It's kind of close to the house, but we'll keep it down in size. But there's a little bit of damage on it, but it took the below freezing. You can see some of the new growth kind of burnt off. But there's some new growth popping up in the center. So again, as long as it doesn't get below freezing for too long, some of these, like, you know, what people would normally grow in South Florida can actually grow well, as long as you have them in a protected spot, at least in the Tampa area. Here's that red jabo that I grew from a seed that I directly sowed into the ground. So this thing, I did give it a hit of Hollytone at one point, but I don't water it. You know, it's in a pretty shady spot, so it's taken a while to grow, but I don't really do anything for it. You can see it's a little burnt up looking, chlorotic. You know, it might be getting a little bit of spray from the city water, but it also could be a nutrient deficiency. I'm not sure, but you know, look at the new growth. New growth looks great, so I'm not worried about it. It'll be fine. I've also got this Grimmel right in front of it. So, you know, kind of the plan is eventually when these trees grow up a little larger, I'll be trimming these bushes back, and you know, giving these a little bit more light. But also doesn't hurt to have them because it helps protect. Of course, there's another bit of heavy machinery making noise while I'm making this video, but the you know, the trees do kind of protect the other trees from bad things. So we'll probably wait till after hurricane season to trim some of this back and give it more light in the fall. But I was kind of worried about this at first because it wasn't putting out any new growth, but let's see. So that looks pretty good. Now this is a Grimmel I got from Adam, but I kind of wonder if it might actually be one of his Grimmel Sabra hybrids. And he just sold it to me as a Grimmel, which I don't really care if that's the case, but its growth pattern looks like a Grimmel. You know, it's got some of these more broad leaves like a Grimmel, but you know, it's also got these smaller leaves. So I'm not sure. It could just be because it hasn't established itself, but it's got a whole bunch of new growth nodules popping up on it, and I did prune it up down below to kind of give it a more upright shape, because this is going to be more of a, I don't know, aesthetic jabo. So that's why I chose the Grimmel for it. Even though it is deciduous and loses its leaves, it's more like a crepe myrtle, but we have a bunch of crepe myrtles in the neighborhood anyways, so I'm not worried about having, you know, trees without leaves on them. I mean, even that right there, that peach tree is, you know, it's full of peaches and whatnot right now, but in the winter it drops all of its leaves and looks like a twig for several months, and the HOA doesn't seem to mind. So and actually, here's some non-fruit tree stuff. My orchids in here are doing pretty good. We'll see what these ones look like, but I've got, here we go on the other side, get a better view. Some more uncommon orchids in here. Here's the like dancing lady orchid. It's not fully out yet, but it's a pretty cool plants to have as companion plants in Florida. Like if you got like a mango tree, you can have them kind of take over the lower canopy if you want to. Even the loquats I think are good for it because they provide that dapple light and kind of a little bit of air in the front. But here's my front yard black Grumichama. I had like a couple fruit off of it last year, and I actually have both of them germinated, so we'll see how those do. But yeah, the new growth kind of looks funky on these plants, but they kind of come out of it, it looks like, as they get bigger. So I'm not sure if that's like a deficiency or just like burned from the sun, or it's still acclimating, or maybe it's from the cold, I'm not sure. But yeah, you can see some cold damage on the guava leaves here. But it comes through, and this is the Ruby Supreme. We've got our winter crop coming through. It's not as big as the summer crop, but you typically don't get worms in them this time of the year, and they're a lot sweeter. So I got ice cream bean planted under it. Here's some more directly sown jabos. So they don't do super hot right here because irrigation for the grass actually hits the front yard. But again, you can see the new growth popping out on it. These ones I don't even get fertilizer to them. Here's a really tiny one. They also don't get a lot of sunlight over here. So I'm not sure why they're doing bad. I think the ground is pretty compacted here too. So I'm sure there's some kind of imbalance over there. But I'm thinking of coming through and, I'll maybe make a small flower bed right there and amend the soil a little bit. But we'll find out. We'll see how I feel. And this right here is kind of my little native garden. So I've got this like salt and pepper plant, but I've got obviously some fruit trees in here. So here's the Julie mango, which is like fully bloomed. It seems to be one of the early bloomers. It's a very, very small mango tree. So I know they're probably one of the slowest growing trees or varieties of mango. That's why I have it kind of right up against the house here. Actually, I got to clean up some of these vines, but I don't know. It's a pretty strong tree too. Actually, I planted it right on top of an irrigation line, so I might have to tweak that at some point. I'll probably just come out to here and cap it off. I don't really care about my irrigation though. Call me crazy, but as long as the stuff in the front yard works, I'm okay. That's all. Just cap this one in case the mango tree busts it open, but we'll find out if it does that someday. But the Julie mangoes really are such a small tree, they kind of get bushy, so I'm hoping it goes this way and shades out the bathroom window there. But and here's our pitiful Valencia orange here. It's probably got citrus greening, unfortunately. I saw the psyllids on it a couple of years ago. I've mentioned that before. It doesn't look very good. It's in full sun, which typically, citrus in full sun don't look great either. At least in Florida, like even before greening was a thing. I remember being a kid. Well, I was in middle school, high school, going through orange groves in Arcadia, and they would kind of look like that. But they'd be full of fruit, and well, not quite like that. They were never as green as the trees that were in the shade. But yeah, I did get one orange off it, and it's sweet and good like a Valencia orange, so as long as it gives me a couple. But this cluster of jackfruits here, I'm still not sure what I'm going to do. We'll probably, I don't know, maybe try to approach graft some of them from the bottom, and then maybe top it. I'm not sure. Maybe they'll eventually just fuse together. Maybe I'll just let them keep growing like that, and we'll see what happens. Maybe they'll choke each other out. Maybe they won't. I think I've kind of proven though that you can grow jackfruit in Tampa, at least in a protected area at this point. I'm fairly confident, because they're only going to get stronger year after year. If a hard freeze came through though, they would probably get set back very severely, or even just die. But that's kind of what you get when you're pushing zone limits. So continuing to be experiment, but I would say if you really care enough, you can grow jackfruit in 9B in the Tampa, Hillsborough County, Plant City area, in a protected spot. And I have seen larger trees with fruit on them too in our area, so I do know it is possible. Ever since I planted these, I've seen them. I thought I was the only guy in town, but yeah, here's my celestial fig. I know we get people on the forums asking like, oh, which fig should I plant in the ground in Florida, because root knot nematodes do affect them negatively. This fig I have had in the ground for 3 to 4 years. I can't remember. I always get the years mixed up these days, but it's at least a 3-year-old tree. I don't really fertilize it. I don't water it. I did the first couple of months when I popped it in the ground because I was worried about it. I did mulch around the base of it a couple of times, but it seems to be pretty well established. It's not a massive tree, so it's good to have kind of up against the house. They're dormant this time of the year, but it's going to start popping back out. I'm very easily able to root this tree from cuttings as well, or root cuttings from this tree. So I have a backup in the lanai, and just all around, all-star in-ground fig tree. I mean, you could keep it in a pot if you wanted, but I don't think you're going to get as many figs as you do off of a tree like this. And I think you can just fertilize the crap out of them. They'll give you back what you give them in fertilizer, as I understand. So if anyone's wondering, celestial fig in ground in Florida seems to be fine. Or maybe I just have healthier soil and I don't have as many nematode problems. But every time I put a pepper plant in the ground, it seems to have nematode problems. So they are there. But here's my Sabra, and I put it in the ground in the middle of summer last year, actually, which is probably a bad idea. And you can see it got real burnt up. Actually, a lot of the dark coloration now is from the cold, I'm pretty sure, because it wasn't this bad looking. But it is springtime, and look at this. Just all over the tree, you see these little cones coming off, and that's all the new growth. And I'm certain, give it a week or two, and this thing is going to be pink and green and red and just beautiful looking, and it'll fill out real heavily, and it'll look like it did whenever it was in the pot in my earlier videos. And yes, this is the one that was in a pot in the lanai in some of my earliest videos. So I'm hoping that it'll turn into a beautiful tree, and it's kind of right next to that finger lime. So sorry, finger lime, you're going to be the one that gets pruned back. But I can also make cuttings of the finger lime, so I'm not too worried about that. And actually with the finger lime, just hit my ankle on my pavers. The finger lime, I've been kind of slowly pruning back from the base. So I saw the way that someone pruned it is you can kind of prune all the lower branches off, and they're very, very thorny trees. So this is kind of important, and it's something I'm going to try. So if you prune the lower branches off and kind of let it be, more top heavy on the green, you can just grab the base of the tree and just shake it, and all the ripe finger limes will fall off. So you can put like a cloth on the ground and kind of harvest them that way. I'm trying to move towards that, and hopefully the the jabo kind of grows out away from the house, just like the finger lime's doing, kind of trying to reach for the light. That way I can keep them pruned up a little nicely. But yeah, also wear glasses when you're trying to work on these finger limes, because you can poke yourself in the eye. I've been pretty close a couple times. So just do as I do, or don't do as I say, don't do as I do. Suriname cherry, the black one, Zildark. Looks like it's starting to push out some new growth, I think. Yeah, same thing as the jabo. I did do a scratch test on my Rollinia, and it's still green down towards the bottom, so it'll probably pop back, which is nice. I'm not really expecting much. That's like a really pushing the zone there. Like, it might never fruit even, but we'll see. Got a lemon seedling in there, which, interesting how the seedlings seem to not have any issues with the citrus greening. Interesting. The rainforest plum right there, doing all right. They got a little crispy from the cold weather, but it's fine. These Suriname cherries here, this is like a red variety, and they turn red in the cold like this. They're also neglected in these pots. Like, I don't really care for Suriname cherry. They probably need to be watered or they'll die, but they're really needing to be potted up. I don't really care about them too much, so I'll water them when I water them, but they might die on me. But they always turn red like that in the winter and come back. Now I do have this cacao right here, and it has dropped all of its leaves since the cold, and it has not popped any back, and there was some new growth on it, and it kind of turned brown. But I'm just going to leave it alone. I don't think it's dead. If it does die, oh well, I'll just plant another tree there. I won't try cacao again. because there's other things I'd rather put in than cacao, even though I think they're really beautiful, interesting plants. But maybe someday when I get more land. But anyways, there's the update on the cacao. It made it through 2 winters almost, potentially. We'll see. Valencia Pride mango pushing out flowers. I don't know if that's like the black sooty mold. I don't spray my plants, so I don't really care. But as you can see, actually, on the oh, here's my yellow jawbo coming through just fine. This is a just unknown variety of yellow jawbo. But I don't spray copper on my plants, and look how clean these flowers look. I mean, yeah, you don't need to spray copper. Maybe if you are industrial and you're trying to, or not industrial, commercial, and you're trying to make 1 billion mangoes and make money, but in your backyard, you don't need it. You'll probably get black mold and lose a couple of plants, or a couple of fruit. But if your plant is making 100 fruit and you lose 50 of them, are you going to eat 50 or 100 mangoes in a year? I mean, maybe you will, but I mean, I don't. So yeah, you don't need to spray. Don't worry about it. It's a waste of time, in my opinion. Let's see. I can't remember if I came over here yet. I probably did at the beginning of the video, but here's the, I don't think I touched on this side. So loquat, actually. Loquat. Fruit on the loquat. This is the champagne loquat. So finally getting fruit. There's a couple of clusters all around it. And I've got the some orchids in the street, like I was mentioning as well. They're a little worse for wear from the cold. I even have a vanilla orchid in here. So people who say you can't grow vanilla in 9B, I mean, you can grow the plant. We'll see if it flowers. I know of other people on YouTube who are in a similar zone as me who have had it flower. But I think it's just taken a while for it to establish. It's been a pretty rough couple of years. Like the hurricane, I think, shredded it a bit, because it was getting some of the roots to establish on the tree, and it just got knocked off, and I had to put it back on. But here's my Plenia Oriana Bronchomel. Looks like some of the new growth had turned dark and popped off of it, but there's a bunch of new growth that has not. So it's doing pretty good, and it's not looking very chlorotic. Some tip burn, but I think that's pretty normal. I might have to hit it with some Hollytone. Here's the imbe. I didn't cover up the imbe. They didn't care about the cold. Even this little one here. Actually, I may have put a pot over the little one. I can't remember. But I just put the little loquats around these just to keep it warm around the base. They're all fine. New addition. There's a Sanford Plenia Phitrantha there from Adam. I grew that from a seed. Those are the ones that were inside, and I just took the strongest looking one. And you can see I was impatient, and I put it out here, and some of the original leaves right there are burnt, and that's just from the sun. So that's why they say to acclimate your trees before you put them outside, because they will get sunburnt. I'm not too worried about this one because this little cage is kind of giving it a little bit of shade. It's also springtime. The sun's not too intense, and it's not direct sun for too long over here. It's mostly like this time of the day for a couple of hours, and then it'll get shaded out pretty early on because the sun is more so over there rather than like up here. And yeah, and then here's the red seedling. This is cold damage for sure, but it's fine because you see the new growth coming out a-okay. It's interesting because I did put a pot over this to kind of protect it a little bit. So one side got cold and the other side didn't get as cold. So I noticed there was like little cold low points in the yard where some spots got way cold compared to others. And yeah, some things got a little more burnt. This Garcinia madruno looks fine. I can't tell what that is. Is that a bug? I don't know. No new growth on it, but I'm sure it's working on its taproot. That's kind of how I've mentioned in the past, the Garcinias kind of do that. they like not do anything for a while, and then all of a sudden they start popping out. Probably my avocados are getting ready to flower, just like the mangoes are. My sugar apple didn't drop all of its leaves in the winter this time, which is interesting. These mangosteens are fine. They're actually starting to push out new growth, I believe. You can kind of tell at the end of the leaves, they start kind of like right in those little divots. It'll pop out right in between the two leaves, and they kind of start to separate, and you'll see the tips of the leaves kind of start pushing out. So it's like a little finger working its way out. See this lemon drop over here. I don't see any new growth on it just yet, but I'm sure given time and a little bit of rain, it'll start popping out. Gambuca, just powerhouse of a plant, perfect for 9B, in my opinion. They'll probably fruit a little more south, but that remains to be seen. My red Rangpur lime has just always been pathetic. I don't know if it's the spot or if it has greening. I see it's trying to grow back from the rootstock here, but we'll knock those off. It's just having a hard time. It's always kind of had a hard time. But in its place, I put a named variety of yellow java over here. So hopefully we'll get some cross-pollination between those two plants once they start flowering. But this is the Cabaludeo. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it was from the larger fruited variety from Bellamy that he recently had on his website. So I've got a ton of those plants. And actually I have an Arasa Boy seed that I directly sowed over there that actually had popped up. It's just taking its time. So that's kind of cool. Let's see if we have an Arasa in the ground directly sown in the coming weeks or year, however long it takes. They're a bit slower. Got a red in the ground here as well that I popped in. I see new growth on it, so it's doing fine. There's the directly sown one over there that's not dead yet, so it's just really slow too. Get some daikon radishes in here. And I'm gonna let these go to seed. You can kind of see, actually, these need water, or are they just losing older leaves? Yeah, you can kind of see the radish right there. They probably need a little bit of water, but this black sapote looks like it's pushing out new growth. It's flowered in a pot, but ever since I put it in the ground, it's real slow. So all the fruit on this thing kind of dropped off, except I did see one down low. Where was it? I know I saw it. Actually, I think it dropped that fruit off too. So it's been flowering and setting fruit, but dropping fruit. This is the Dovialis hybrid. Almost no cold damage, even though it got below freezing here for several hours in this specific spot. Like I read like 28.5 on top of that mango. Let's see. Garcinia xanthochinus, still going strong, no new growth yet. There is new growth popping out on this lemon drop mangosteen though. You can kind of see what I'm talking about. How in between the leaves, a little nodule starts poking out. And then the lemon zest is flowering as well. I'll probably cull the fruit off of that one because it's not a very big tree. Got to get a little bigger this year, focus on growth, but I'll let the orange sherbet hold some fruit and the Valencia Pride. Both of the directly sown Pacuries are in here too. No new growth. I'm sure they're working on their roots. They tend to do that. I'm a broken record at this point. Here's the other one. This one was not directly sown. I put it in very, very, very young. So, and what else? The grafted lukes here. It's pretty damaged from the hurricane still, but it's still green, so I have hope. We should see some new growth soon. You know, once we get a little bit of rain. Got a ginberry planted right there. They were in pots. They don't seem to do well in pots, but as soon as I put it in the ground, it's been doing good. And then the achacha. Good news. New growth is popping out. See if I can get it to focus. If you can see that. Kind of all over the tree. Pretty much every branch has new growth popping out. So, yay, it's okay. This jawbo here, it's the Pling oblongata. Got a little burnt up in the cold on the younger growth, but the older growth didn't seem to mind it too much. But I do see new growth coming in since I last looked at it, so it's fine. Quine mug, no damage at all. Even though it got below freezing, it's even pushing out new branches. So we're probably a couple years off of any fruit on this thing, but it's just a pretty tree, and it'll probably be the centerpiece of the yard. Like this, I kind of see like letting that one grow big, letting the jawbo grow big, and you know, I'll keep the mango trees under control, but the Valencia pride will probably be a bigger tree. I'm going to try and keep it under the pool cage in terms of height, but you know, there's only so much you can do with a very large mango tree, and if it gets out of control for my, not so much if the tree's out of control, but out of my control in terms of keeping it pruned, I'll just top it or top work it into something a little more manageable. So, but yeah, I think I rambled for about 30 minutes here. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, let me know. Other than that, thanks for watching. If you made it all the way through, if you didn't, you skipped around, that's fine. I'm just glad to contribute to at least some knowledge out there, my experience, and you know, hopefully I can inspire others to try and, you know, plant some things that they might have not thought would be possible in their area. So that's pretty much it. Y'all take care. Clocking out. Till next time. See you.